And what makes you the worst Buddhist in the world?
Now, that's a funny story. I had been meditating, and I came out of my little meditation room, and I start running around like a Tasmanian devil. And I caramelized some onions, and I'm dialing United Airlines about some problem, and I'm mopping my kitchen floor. And while I'm on hold, I say to my husband, you need to do this, you need to do that. And Jim goes, you are the worst Buddhist in the world. And at first that kind of made me mad. But then I thought, well, he's true. I am probably the worst Buddhist in the world. And furthermore, that has ironic potential. I want to say something about the title Seeking Peace, too. That's the subtitle, Chronicles of the Worst Buddhist in the World. I know about seeking peace the way Nelson Mandela knows about freedom. I would never want to be on this show promoting myself as the most peaceful, serene person around. I have sought peace my whole life. And just as Mandela, who was in a prison cell, wrote about freedom, nobody has tried harder to relax or worked with more ardor to achieve serenity. And I note the irony of that statement.
And the paradox of that statement. And another paradox, you wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post this week, or this month, about being on both sides of the mindfulness path. For example, your husband says he never thought you would get into that new agey stuff because you were so down to earth. So what's it like being on the receiving end of that?
Well, you know, it's very interesting that my mother was a doctor. She didn't put up with complainers, whiners. She was a worker. She believed morality was action, and that if you were a good person, you spent every minute of your life helping people. That's what your job was.
And you admit that mindfulness, meditation, New Age spirituality, call it what you will, can become solipsistic. That, in other words, being so attuned to your inner silence can be a form of tuning out rather than tuning in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my mom's statement when I asked her about Buddhism as a girl was, I don't have much use for people who sit around contemplating their navels and saying, I am the center of the universe. On the other hand, here is what the issue was for me. You know, my life was a Cinderella story, but I wasn't very well equipped to be Cinderella. I'm somebody who's much happier peeling potatoes and washing dishes. As a little girl with busy parents, I had taken on the job of caring for my siblings. My whole life, I have been someone who wants to take care of everybody.
You called you and your sibs feral children.
We grew up pretty much without parents, and I did my best, but I couldn't do a very good job. I was a little girl myself. Oddly enough, after 1994, I found myself in much the same position. I wanted to take care of everybody, but there were too many everybodies. And my life had that same feeling of I can't do what I need to do.
So you take care of your siblings, then you go into psychotherapy practice, you're taking care of more people, you write the book, Reviving Ophelia, and you want to take care of a whole nation of adolescent girls and their parents.
And I'm perfectly happy with that identity as someone who takes care of other people. In fact, the main change that happened to me in seeking peace, Brian, was not that I stopped taking care of people. Pretty much since I was 12 months old and my brother Jake was born, I've derived great pleasure from caring for people, especially vulnerable people. What I did with seeking peace was invite myself into my own circle of caring. And I've always been somebody who could dish out compassion, but I couldn't take it. And I've allowed myself to be a little kinder and gentler and more self-accepting.
And back to the paradox, because you've been on the dishing out end of this mindfulness, and your husband called you the worst Buddhist in the world, but you write about feeling abandoned when one of your best friends, a feisty, sassy girlfriend, got so Buddhist mindful that she did not lash out when someone was rude to her daughter. Talk about being on that side of the line.
Well, I am a total believer in both and Buddha actually spoke of the middle way. And I'm someone who thinks it's very important to be present. It's important to learn about your own body. That's one of the things I learned. Before this book, have you ever heard the phrase, I was running around like a head with its chicken cut off? That was me.
Some version of it.
But for myself, learning to stay present, You know, this bumper sticker, having a good time, wish I were here, that applied to me. It was very good training. Now I'm back out in the world. I'm a social activist. I'm a worker bee. There's nothing that makes me happier than being able to work. I have one little story I'd like to tell if I have time. This is an example of how my mind works and the change. So I'm in a sauna at the university. I told myself to sit there 15 minutes. At 10 minutes, I got really, really hot. And I thought to myself, I'm getting out. But then I thought, are you so hedonistic and undisciplined you would get out of a sauna before you were supposed to? And then I thought, wait a minute. Are you so driven and perfectionistic that you can't get out of a sauna when your skin is burning? And then I thought, what are you, so neurotic you can't even decide if you're perfectionistic or hedonistic enough to walk out of a sauna? And then, this is the progress. I started laughing, and I just go, walk out of this sauna. And once I was out, I did something Thich Nhat Hanh recommends that we do to accept ourselves and love ourselves. I said to myself, I gave myself a hug, and I said, darling, I love you just the way you are.
So you got out of your head and
did.
into your heart.
That's right. And I've always been out of my, I've always lived a life of helping hands. I've always loved being a therapist where I listen to and involve myself in the world of other people. So it's new for me to face my own pain and be present.